The chickens clucked in the dusty yard as Amarachi sat under the mango tree, clutching her battered biology textbook like it could still change her fate. At 17, her dreams were simple. Finish school, maybe get a scholarship, escape the slow suffocation of poverty. But dreams don't pay debts. Her father hadn't paid rent in 5 months. Her mother's petty trade barely fed them. Hope was shrinking, replaced by whispers of shame and neighbors' stares. Then one day, 3 black SUVs rumbled into their compound. Men in fine brocade stepped out, followed by the one they all called the Chief. Chief Okafor, 70 maybe older. Billionaire. His name carried weight. Philanthropist, power broker, widow. Everyone knew his money built roads and bought silence. And now he wanted a new wife. Amarachi's parents sat her down that night, voices trembling with both fear and excitement. "You'll save this family," her mother whispered, cupping her face. "This is your chance." Amarachi's hands shook. She didn't say no, there was no room for no. She just nodded and cried into her pillow when the light went out. 2 weeks later, the compound bustled with drummers and dancers. Amarachi stood in gold lace, her teenage frame lost inside the ornate wrapper and coral beads. Her smile trembled as women ululated and sprayed naira notes around her. The air was thick with sweat, jollof smoke and secrets. The chief, regal in white agbada, took her hand. His skin was cold, his ring heavy. People clapped. The masquerade danced. But inside, Amarachi felt like a lamb led quietly to something she didn't understand. As they posed for photos, she caught her father's eye. He looked proud, but something about his stillness chilled her. The drums beat louder. Her future had just been sold. The ride to Chief Okafor's mansion was quiet. Amarachi sat stiffly in the back seat of the SUV. Her gold gelly still tight on her scalp, her stomach twisting with each turn of the road. When the gates finally creaked open, the mansion loomed like a palace swallowed in shadow. Sprawling lawns, marble columns, and too many windows that seemed to stare back. Inside, servants lined the hall, heads bowed. The silence was thick, unnatural. Chief Okafor walked beside her slowly, his cane tapping softly on the polished floors. "You must be tired," he said, his voice deep but distant. "I'm not a young man. I don't expect conjugal duties. Just your presence. Your quiet loyalty." She nodded, unsure if she was relieved or insulted. At least he wasn't leering. But his cold politeness unsettled her, like she was just another item in his collection. A maid led her down a hallway so long it echoed. "This is your wing," the woman said. Everything, her room, her bathroom, her sitting parlor, glimmered with gold accents and untouched luxury. But it felt too clean, too curated. As she stepped back into the hallway, the maid's tone turned sharp. "You are not to go near the 3rd floor. Ever." Amarachi blinked. "What's on the 3rd floor?" The maid's eyes flicked toward the ceiling. "Just stay away. That's all." That night, Amarachi lay on the satin sheets, staring at the ceiling, every tick of the clock reminding her. She was now a wife to a stranger in a house full of secrets. Every morning, Amarachi woke up in sheets softer than anything she had ever touched in her life. Her closet overflowed with designer gowns, her bathroom with imported soaps that smelled like fields she'd never seen. She had a personal chef, a daily spa appointment, and a room so large it echoed when she whispered. But there was no joy, no visitors, no phone, no contact with her parents, her friends, no internet, not even a newspaper. The mansion was stunning, but it was a golden cage. The housemaids smiled but never lingered. Their eyes darted quickly whenever Amarachi asked too many questions. Once she asked about the 3rd floor again, and the maid merely replied, "It's not your concern, madam," before walking away stiffly. At night things grew stranger. She began hearing footsteps pacing above her room. Slow, dragging steps. Once, she thought she heard soft weeping in the hallway. She rushed out, heart thudding, but found nothing. Another time, she saw Chief Okafor standing alone in the drawing room, speaking softly. But there was no one with him. When she asked later who he had been talking to, he just smiled and said, "Old memories, my dear." It wasn't comforting. Then it happened. Amarachi stepped out of her room just after midnight, drawn by the sound of faint humming. Down the long, dim hallway, she saw someone, tall, thin, draped in white, walking slowly ahead. "Hello," she called, voice barely rising. The figure paused, turned slightly, then vanished into the wall. Her legs froze. Her breath caught. This mansion wasn't just cold. It was haunted by something she couldn't explain. It started with a whisper, soft, unrelenting, like the wind curling through old cracks. Amarachi couldn't stop thinking about the third floor. Every hallway seemed to tilt toward the staircase leading up, and every creak of the ceiling felt like a message. The door was always locked, always silent, yet somehow it begged her to come. She tried to ask again, this time a young guard she caught alone. He stiffened, looked over his shoulder, and leaned in. "Some doors," he said quietly, "should remain closed." Then he walked off without another word. The warning didn't help. It only fed the fire. Curiosity became obsession. Her chance came during a thunderstorm. The lights blinked, the generator delayed. In the dim candlelight, she noticed one of the senior housekeepers had left a ring of keys on the parlor shelf. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears as she slipped it into her wrapper pocket, pretending to yawn. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, she tiptoed through the mansion barefoot, her flashlight barely bright enough. The air grew colder as she reached the staircase. Every step creaked louder than the last, as if trying to wake the house. The third floor was darker than the others. As she reached the door at the end of the corridor, something strange happened. She could hear her name. Not loudly, not with ears, but inside her head, faint and urgent. The key trembled in her hand. The lock clicked, and then silence. The door creaked open slowly, groaning like it hadn't been touched in years. A heavy smell of dust, aged wood, and something faintly metallic filled Amarachi's nostrils. She stepped inside cautiously, eyes adjusting to the flicker of oil lamps placed on wall sconces. Why lamps, not electricity? Then she saw it. Library, but not one filled with stories. On every shelf, in solemn rows, sat framed photographs. Hundreds of them. Every photo showed a girl, young, barely older than her, each dressed in bridal lace or traditional wedding attire. Some smiled faintly, others looked afraid. Amarachi moved closer and noticed something else. At the bottom of many frames, etched in gold, was a chilling word. Deceased. Her breath caught in her throat. Her fingers grazed one of the photos. An Igbo girl with dimples, maybe 15. Tunelo. Died 2010. Amarachi staggered back, heart pounding. What was this place? On a nearby desk lay an old leather-bound journal with a silver clasp, locked tight. Her hands trembled as she reached for it. Then she heard it. A step. Quickly, she ducked behind the heavy velvet curtain near the back of the room, barely breathing. The door opened. Chief Okafor entered slowly, muttering to himself. "Kayamika, you cried too much. Bull, you almost escaped. Dayabi. A Dayabi." He walked to the center of the room and knelt beside a loose tile. With calm, practiced movements, he lifted it and revealed a hidden compartment. Inside sat a golden urn. He ran his fingers across the label. Adeyabi, 1996 to 2013. Amarachi's gasp was involuntary. She slapped her hand over her mouth too late. Chief Okafor's head turned slightly. He paused. "Listen." The silence grew razor-sharp. Then he whispered almost lovingly, "You always come looking before it's time." The next morning, Amarachi's body moved on autopilot, but her mind was a storm. She waited by the breakfast lounge, where Chief Okafor sipped papaya juice like a man without a care. When he looked up and smiled, she didn't return it. "I saw them," she said softly. His smile faded. "All of them," she added, voice shaking. "The photos. The urns. Adeyabi." He set the glass down with eerie calm. "Then you understand," he replied. They weren't taken. They were chosen. Amarachi's stomach turned. Chosen? For what? Chief Okafor leaned back, eyes distant. The earth, it asks. It hungers. Give. Or everything I've built. Your family's comfort, my legacy, turns to ash. Would you prefer that? She stared at him, horrified. You marry girls. You bury them. I release them, he whispered. Amarachi stumbled back. Her parents, her whole family, they were safe now, eating well, bragging to neighbors. That safety came with a price. And she was alone. After that day, the mansion shifted. The maids who once pampered her stopped making eye contact. Meals came late. Her spa appointments vanished. She asked questions and no one answered. The golden cage had become a prison with invisible bars. Then one evening, as she entered her room, a small paper fell from beneath her pillow, folded thrice, handwritten. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. You have 7 days left. Run. There was no name, no explanation, just those 5 chilling words, scratched in hurried strokes. Amarachi's breath caught. Every corner of the room now felt darker, every shadow alive. By the 3rd night, sleep had abandoned Amarachi completely. Every creak in the mansion sent her heart pounding. The note never left her bra, folded tight like a warning pressed against her skin. She knew she had to understand what was really happening. Fast. She began searching in secret, starting with the dusty bookshelves in her own wing. Behind a cracked Bible, she found an old newspaper clipping. Business mogul mourns daughter, age 14, dies in fire. The photo showed a much younger Chief Okafor holding the charred remains of a child's necklace. Her name, Adeobi, the same name on the urn. A few more clippings followed, hidden under a loose floorboard. Whispers of grief, mentions of a retreat to the east, rumors of rituals, dark ones. Amarachi read about an ancient rite whispered in Igbo folklore. A man who could cheat death if he gave life to the earth in exchange. The more he gave, the longer he lived. And his offering? Brides, youth, souls. Amarachi felt her throat tighten. It all made horrifying sense. Now, the shadows in the house weren't just eerie, they were watching. She began seeing faces in windows, pale and tear-streaked. The hallway lights flickered when she walked through. She passed a mirror once and caught a glimpse of a girl standing behind her, crying silently. But when she turned, no one was there. Late one night, she saw blue light flickering under the floorboards of her room, pulsing like a heartbeat. When she knelt to touch it, the whisper came again, only clearer. Don't become us. Amarachi stumbled back, breath ragged. The house wasn't haunted, it was possessed. Grief hung in the air like a scream that had nowhere else to go. And she was running out of time. The whisper came just after midnight. Soft, female, and unmistakably not hers. Amarachi. It drifted through her room like smoke, luring her to the closet. Heart pounding, she pushed aside her gowns and felt a draft. Her fingers found a crack in the wall. Hidden door. Inside was darkness. And then a girl. She stood barefoot, pale as moonlight, in a torn wedding dress smeared with soot. Her eyes, sunken, sorrowful, locked with Amarachi's. He didn't finish the ritual with me, she whispered. But with you, he will. Amarachi stumbled back, the walls suddenly pressing in. What do you mean? She breathed, but the girl began to fade, like mist curling into itself. Before she could step forward, a voice thundered behind her. Amarachi. It was Chief Okafor, calm but colder than ever. You weren't supposed to find her yet. She turned slowly, heart in her throat. And the door behind her slammed shut. To be continued. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when part 2 drops. You won't want to miss what happens next.